Just getting a little pre-therapy here with Dr. Ziegler. So around the world, American parents often have a reputation of being intense, overprotective, and obsessed with achievement.
Here to talk about why parents in the U.S. may struggle with parenting is our 9 News parenting expert and therapist, Dr. Cheryl Ziegler. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Okay, so the pressure is real.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is coming from a mama. So what are some of the factors that are playing into this?
Well, I wanted to talk about this because it was based on this article in The Atlantic in which there was an expat that is living still in Europe. And they were kind of talking about these things and met another expat. And they said, oh, well, I'll never go back there again. Raising kids in America would be too dangerous. So it started with that. And the person was like, what are you talking about? They're like, you know, the gun violence and the lack of support is not sustainable. And so then when you look at what the differences are in terms of raising parents raising their kids here versus there, it's really this idea that we are a very individual society. Like if you have a kid, it's your job to make sure they have an education. It's your job to make sure you can afford it or that you can get childcare. Versus in European countries, it's very collectivist.
They delegate some of that responsibility.
Yes, it's like this is all of our jobs, including the government, not just the one individual parent. Well, you chose to have a kid, so you figure it out. Oh, and you don't get paid paternity leave, and you don't get any kind of subsidies to help with education and childcare. And so that's one of the really big things they think that we are so the way we are because we're doing this on our own.
Looking at it more like an individualistic society, what exactly does that look like?
So in an individualistic society, it means it is my responsibility since I had this child. So I need to figure out, oh, if I only get 3 days of, maybe a maternity leave after I have a kid, that's my problem. If I have to take unpaid time off because we don't get guaranteed time off, that's my problem. If I have to figure out childcare, no one's going to give me any kind of subsidy. So and I could be penalized at work for those kinds of things. So we're caregivers. Whether you're caregiving for your child or your elderly parent is not something that's supported here versus in European. And this is about wealthy countries, by the way. So we're talking about wealthy countries. We do very poor, and we are the wealthiest country.
Well, I feel like Corey tries to prepare me for parenthood all the time. And we were talking about this, that we're very lucky we have supportive families because it's hard to do that anymore without that kind of support.
So true. I mean, and I totally get what you're saying about how that's kind of the mentality here. It's like, well, you're the one that wanted kids. Best of luck to you. Hopefully you make the right decisions. It's like, it's so different.
It really is so different. And I think in other countries, they have things like literally cash subsidies and they pay for the time off. And caregivers in general are really supported. And so this really is a caregiver issue as well. When you are caring for somebody else, that's actually something that's protected in wealthy European countries. So there's a lot that we don't do, but really a lot of this is around our mentality. We are individualistic, we're capitalists. Go and get your own thing, go and make your own wealth and health.
Is there something we can do about that, moving forward? Obviously, we can't really do much about the subsidies from a personal level. Maybe at the legislative level, they could do something about that. But just our standpoint right here, right now, what can we do to kind of help change that mentality?
Yeah, I think if anyone is listening to this and they're relating, because you have family around, but many people, especially in Colorado, this is a transplant state, not a lot of people have extended family that can be really helpful, is I think we have to start thinking, okay, even if it's not my family and it's not the government helping me, how can I create my own tribe? What community can I be a part of or just literally create so that none of us feel like we are on our island on our own or maybe with grandparents who may or may not be able to help with everything.
Yeah.
And so I think really thinking about the happiest countries that also have wealth really have a lot of support. We don't have to do this all on our own.
Well, you can see why they think this about us. I mean, a lot of other countries, they get 6 months of maternity and paternity leave or a year, right? I mean, it's paid, exactly. And so it's so different for us here. You're so lucky if you get 12 weeks.
Exactly, lucky. It's always like you're lucky you're lucky you have parents here. Whereas in other countries, you have generations of grandparents and cousins and aunts and uncles, and the mentality is we are all doing this together.
It's so normal to be involved.
Yeah, it's just
like
normal.
Yeah,
it's just the norm.
Well, Dr. Ziegler, thank you for coming, and I think a lot of people can relate to this this morning, so
Absolutely.
we appreciate the conversation.